Headband Hump Day. That's what I'm going to call it today. The Headband Hump Day here at Policing Pips stream. We are going to check on some stuff here before we do anything. Everything's kind of pushing upside here pre-market, except for our stuff. So let's get this overnight high up in there. See if that's correct. Let's give it to the 5-minute. This is previous day high was here. Ended up pushing down. Did we close higher than that? Let's check. 1500's right there. Yes, that's a low close. High of the day was right there pretty much at the end of the day. So that's going to stay there. Overnight low. Never really dipped at all. So it's that previous day high there. That's the overnight low. I'm going to use this level here as the overnight low. I guess we'll use that. Let's see if it gapped. We did get a gap. And we filled it right here. Gapped up. Didn't quite fill it. So let's do that. We'll close that there. That's the overnight low. Since price opened up, that's where we're at. Realistically, 1505, 1500. I mean, we could still get down into that purple zone. So we're going to leave that purple zone as an area of interest. And we're going to take that from there. So let's do this. Just make sure everything is a little bit lower so I can hear the news. Especially with earnings plays, news stuff. I really want to have my Trader TV Live up. This morning, we did get the mortgage rates came out, 7.24%. We had durable good orders come out at 2.6, which beat forecast, so it's showing strength in the market. Still, X-Transport's 0.2, and not X-Defense is 2.3, which absolutely beat by a whole lot. So that came out at 7:30, which is right over here. And we sold off pretty good from that. We got a little whip up action on the overnight high, pushing into that middle of the range. Really just tells us that we don't have a trade right off the jump unless things kind of move around a bit here. If we could get back closer to that overnight high, I would like to sell it right off the rip. I'm going to set up this S&P overnight high and low. It seems to have been working, helping us out some, so we are going to put those in there. This was 1500 over here. We'll go with that low there. So S&P's is a lot closer to their overnight lows than the NQ is. However, that's not like a huge bit of information because everything's kind of rallying here. I want to see what Tesla's doing pre-market. Rallied and then has just sat up on that top end there above 160.88 was that previous area that I was interested in. So we have some interest. Like I said, today is Headband Hump Day. Wednesday here. I'm just rocking the headband. Steven Sills, welcome to the chat. Run the sirens today. We are watching this, like I said, based on Tesla's earnings yesterday. Huge miss, terrible surprise, negative 919.29 million to the negative side, right? The estimate was going to be 22.2 billion, and they reported at 21. How dare they make $1 billion less? It's funny. They're still making 21.3 billion, and that's a miss. So it's technically bad, but I wouldn't call that bad. I'll take a $21 billion year. It's the EPS that bothers people, I think. Also, 49 cents, reported 45 cents. I don't know what they guided on their news. But the street cuts Tesla price targets from 245 to 280, and we're down here at 160. So I think a lot of the selling came in prior to the release, knowing that they were just going to buy up the release no matter what happened. Bad news, good news. Good news is bad news. This market's always topsy-turvy. You kind of just got to react and see. You could do all the research you want, right? Just like Deck did. Deck came out talking all about how he's going to short Tesla, anticipated really poor earnings, the rebranding, all that stuff that Tesla was thinking about. And he kind of just got caught, he shorted it. And unfortunately, the market does what it does, and it wants to, if it wants to go up, it's going to go up. It just doesn't matter what we think as far as our analysis goes. It's funny how we're able to kind of just get run over, even though we're perfectly correct on everything we do in analysis-wise. Just like yesterday, we lost yesterday, and it's not because we didn't do anything right. It was just because things that we normally do that pay off did not pay off, right? So we just got to come out here today, execute the same plan, and be interested in certain levels, like let's call that 743 level pretty important. 743 on the NQ, 737 up into 770. So this area here is interesting, just above the overnight high. For me, as a resistance area, a good area for there to be a pullback. We do have this little bit of a, I guess you'd call it an uptrend that's kind of holding here now overnight. And I want to see if we'll get either a bounce, a wick of that high, right? We can wick that high here, come back, give our delta divergence, and rotate back down. If we can rotate back down and get through that level where we're at pretty much right now, I mean, we got to get through this trend line here at 700. If we can get below 700 after the fact, that could lead to a nice little short with a longer term horizon down to the lows. We're talking about yesterday's stuff. Yesterday we were mentioning Astra Trader was in here. She was asking, I believe it was Astra. Yeah, it was Astra Trading. She asked if I was going to if I was going to break 600 yesterday, where would I want my targets to be, right? So I'm going to go over to my actual trading screen. She was talking about breaking it above 600. So I drew out these targets, right? We were right around here when she asked about it. She said if we break about 300, the 17,600 level, what would my upside be? I drew up these two lines here. I said first targets would be around that 17,640 level, then up into this yellow line wasn't there, this green line wasn't there, up into that 88, and then potentially 700, because if you are approaching that big round number, you probably run into it. So that's where we were at. We ran into that area. So we kind of saw what happened here. Price ticked down. I said we locked ourselves out after we were down. I said pretty much I see this kind of just chopping in between these two for a bit. So I don't really have an execution to be had. We wicked above 6, came back, we held it, right? Once again, we kind of just chopped here until about 12:30, 1 o'clock, 12:40 here. You broke out right into that 40 level, right? Once you broke through this area, this zone above 600, where you actually got a confirmed buy, some better volume on that candle, pushed up into that 40, and then what do you know? We kind of rallied, came back down into it, and now we have popped right into that 690 up into that 700 level. So that's what I was thinking with that long trade through there. But for me, it wasn't something I was able to take or be willing to take, right? So market's going to open here in about 30 seconds or so. So let's see what happens with today's price action. I want to see if we could get ourselves a good opportunity. It seems like that overnight high wants to be tagged maybe pre-market here. We could get up into that area and get our delta to work with us. We are kind of seeing a divergence already where there's prices ticking up and delta is trying to work its way down. So let's see if we could do one leg up into like the 70s area and then work our trade short to the downside. If you have any other ideas, let me know. Throw them in the chat. If you're over in YouTube, head over to tradecaster.com. Join the fun over there. It's a great time. It's for traders by traders. It's a great platform for us, and it's where I stream every day, all day, 8:30 to 11. So we are pushing up right here on the open. Tilt's not crazy heavy. The overnight high is right here, which is made pre-market. So we are pretty much opening near this overnight high. If we fail this, I'll go back to my 1 minute. You can see the S&Ps are much lower. They're not closer to their overnight high. Tesla opening up and continuing to push up. Nvidia selling off some. Apple pushing upside. Microsoft rejecting the 410 level. So I'm going to stay on Apple. I mean, on Microsoft. To me, it's got the less influence from some of the earnings things. And it is selling some. We have our short squeeze espresso today. Actually, I switched it up. This is a different. It's our very dark roast that I put in as an espresso. So I like it a little bit different. If you're on the YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, the little bell, get notified. If you're over on Tradecaster, do all the same Tradecaster things. Like it, rate us at a nice little level there, and we'll go from there. Got a phone call coming in. I'll answer it later. They'll leave me a message if they need me. Alrighty, we're gonna wait for this to go. S&P's rallying. Selling below VWAP. NQ pushing into the overnight high. I think if we could get a little wick of this overnight high, we could play the failure of this opening range right here. This opening range low 70, 27, below 30. I might get into a short if it does do that, but this is going straight upside. 56% long. Let's see what the delta is doing. Hit right off on the top there. Didn't quite make the overnight high, but I think I will take the short through 30. Gonna be aggressive on this if it does break through 30. Okay, that's weird. We are short. We're gonna run the sirens for you. We're short on this bad boy. Let's see how far we can take it to the downside. Come on now. Let's see if we can go through that opening range low, break down from the overnight high here. I like those wicks. It's the opening range trade here. I'll be at break even. Let's see where it goes. If it's gonna go fast, then I'll take it. If it's gonna break me even, then it's gonna break me even. It's cool. We're gonna get to the VWAP at least. Excuse me. Run that siren, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, downside. Sell off and never come back. I would love to see that today. Give it a little bit of a recovery. It's kind of trying to hold right here, though, which I don't like. It's not going that fast. It's not going fast enough. It's probably going to bounce here. There we go. We're out 37. Break it even. Stop the siren. Stop him. He stopped running. Opening range trade did not flush hard enough, fast enough for me to go with it without being regular. I have a little choppiness here. I want to see if it's my data feed or if it's just price acting a little silly right now. Because if it's choppy like that, I don't really like that. No, my chat room went away. Sorry if you're in there. It's not online. How about now? Hell yeah, Scalper's Delight, baby. Sorry to the Tradecaster room. I don't know what happened. My stream went away, but it's back. You're catching a little bit of a bounce here on the S&Ps. That's pushing us up. I think if we can get back up to that overnight high, that'd be a really nice thing for me to get a wick off. That was a nice short there that we could have captured down to VWAP. Something was a little choppy. Something I didn't really like what was going on with my data. It kind of was interesting. Normally, I could see these ticks. I could see things a little bit more smooth. I was getting a little whippy. It was fine for me to get stopped out there. I would have been stopped out here anyway. Realistically, that short needs to come in a little higher up at the overnight high. We'll see if we can catch another one and actually catch the move. Right there's that. See, that's that pop off that we were talking about. S&Ps is now above VWAP. I'm going to just check over here on the Delta. Delta, you can see strong push to the high side now, breaking through highs, and price hasn't got there. So we got that reverse divergence going on. Everything is very strong. Russell's trying to tick back up. Let's see what's going on here. Microsoft trying to push his way back above 409.80. If I could get this back above the overnight high, give a hard wick, get up into that 70 area, 17,770, the triple sevens. If I could get up into that area there, I would love to see if we could get a rejection in that area. Failed breakout. My next overhead, though, that I had that's an important level since we've ground through that previous lower level is 17,829. So that 17,830 level is all the way up here, which could be a continuation high target if you are looking at this area here. Could be the ultimate high of the day if that's the case, if we continue to be bullish. But I would love to see if this thing would give me a failure at the high here. I want to go up into that 770, kind of reject that area. 770 would be the ultimate high, I think, for that rejection. But I think up to, what is this here? 50. So, yeah, pretty much what we just hit off on. But I need a divergence. I need something to tell me to get in, because if this is just going to go and run me over, right, it's going to run up to the high side. I don't want to take that. Microsoft pushing highs. Microsoft pushing through the high, looking to try and break pre-market highs, not quite doing it. S&P pushing down. If S&P can push below VWAP and hold, then the chances of this breakout failure happening is more likely. Tilt's only 61% long, so I think we could probably, like I said, push up into that 70 level here, right up into this level. Give me a big push, then a failure, then I'll take the short through the overnight high. That would be my game plan. If it just fails right here, right, like quick, I don't think I could take it, but I also think the strength is still coming in with the S&Ps. Microsoft's still showing some strength. I'm sure Tesla's probably still being bullish, even though it missed on everything. No, Tesla giving some back. Apple going straight up. Nvidia kind of dipped down some. There's that push up to the 70 level. So that's that area where I'm interested on a failure. But that delta, you can see how strong it is. But you do have a little bit of a wick top. So I want to watch it on this chart here a little bit. I'll execute on it. You got that 1 standard deviation of VWAP there. Russell is very strong. Interesting levels. With these delta candles here, I want to see some selling come in there. I don't want to take this first down here, but yeah, I do. Sell one through the overnight low, overnight high. If it does, if it holds 70, then whatever. The only thing that I could be concerned with is that S&P's overnight high is way up here, has room to go. 66% long. Delta still pushing strong to the high side, so continuations to the high side does seem a little likely. Is the breakout rally going to just be what happens again today, or are we going to get the failed breakout rotation? Held VWAP, broke the opening range high, wicked the opening range low, broke through the opening range high, and now is pushing higher. Russell's pumping. Microsoft wicked the pre-market high. If I can get S&P pullback, that'd be great. As you can tell, I'm pretty short biased. A lot of my trades seem to be short, but that's just because we seem to be rallying up into the open. I like to do fades of the level. So if we were down on the lows, overnight low, previous day high, like that's a very confluent area where there should be some orders just kind of hanging out where we could possibly capitalize on that. But Microsoft absolutely going high side. If it gets to 412 and we kind of linger around here, we could get a rejection at 412 on Microsoft and we could push this back downside, but I'm not so sure if this is just going to come straight down, if it goes through the overnight high, if it's going to push, or if it's going to hold on top and rally. But we're going to watch it. Big wick candle here on the delta. Opening range high is pretty much the overnight high. So we are going to watch that reacceptance into the opening range. Does seem like it still wants to be bullish. A lot of confluence for the longs here. I would like I said, I just want to at least catch it down to VWAP, just get a little heaviness. That's my strategy here. My reversion is fail the overnight high, fail the breakout, get not enough volume into it, and push downside, get this delta to kind of play along with us a bit. I mean, I talked through exactly why I got here, right? Get up into 70, fail 70, and see if overnight high holds. If overnight high holds, then you shouldn't get triggered in. If it doesn't hold, it'll push down, trigger us in, and probably make us right quickly, selling off into VWAP, hopefully, and then rotating down into overnight lows, previous day highs. That's the goal here. If this could push above 70 again and make a lower high in delta, then you possibly could get that failure to help us out. Russell trying to sell back off down into opening range. S&P is pushing. And there's that push higher. Delta not quite getting higher, but it is pretty much the same as the price action. So I am not getting a full divergence, but I'm also not getting a big time delta pop on this, right? You can see it's just kind of acting the same as this candle. Price pushing higher. S&P is pushing higher. Russell rejected the opening range and is now pushing higher. So like I said, 830 is that next upside overhead level that I'm interested in. If I don't get anything through this level here, then we probably don't get triggered into anything until maybe we rotate back down. Or if it's going to be one of those continuation days, maybe we don't make anything. Maybe we're up $37 and that's it. But we'll see what happens here. Microsoft whipped right into that 412 zone. You can see it here. This area here, very interesting area for Microsoft. I find a lot of information to happen around here. So let's see if it breaks through it and continues on. If it does, I'd say this NQ continues on. But if we reject this zone, then potentially rotate Microsoft a bit, and then the NQ will follow some too. So that's what I watch with Microsoft. I hope everybody was able to mitigate their losses yesterday or make a big gain or something that was keeping them in the trade for tomorrow, which is today. For me, I just cut my losses at my loss limit, $500, and we're looking to see if we could just make one good trade today and then make another good trade. Microsoft wicked into that zone and now is trying to sell off a little from there. Hopefully it sells off a bunch. If it comes off 412, down below 412 and comes off hard, I believe we could get a decent little sell side move in the NQ. Microsoft top weighted name there. NVIDIA is selling. Apple is pushing high side. Apple and NVIDIA are negatively correlated. Today, Tesla is below the 160.88 level. Microsoft rejected 412 and now below 412. So if we could get below here, Delta now starting to get a little heavier. You can see it's a little whip off top. We are below this one standard deviation away from the VWAP. So let's see if we could rotate through here, through into the VWAP as that first target, and then hopefully could flush the VWAP. And I can use the VWAP as my stop moving forward. That's really the game plan with this trade. Having a hard time here at 70. Like I said, if 70 doesn't hold, then that's the level where I want to see the overnight high fail through, right? We held it the first time. Do we hold it the second time or do we break it? And if we break it, how low can we go if we break that overnight high, right? Failed breakout. Maybe there's some stops here. Maybe they just wick us in. I think maybe they could push us down into the VWAP, like I said. If we could do another little wiki dance here, a little wick dance. Delta's still kind of playing along, trying to make its way to the high side. Russell, once again, trying to get back into the opening range. Small caps, S&Ps as well, maybe working its way back to the VWAP. So hopefully that helps drag us down. Microsoft trying to push back to 412. Not quite giving you a ton of volume into there. This 70 level was interesting to me. Took one quick short on the opening range breakdown. Wanted to see it follow through. Didn't get any follow through on it. And we took our profits here for $37.20. I think it was like a $40 winner. Yep, $40. There's a nice little wick. Failing this little support level here, trend line that's been happening, but immediately popped right back into the 80s. And Microsoft rejecting the 412 level that I was talking about, right? I find this time and time again that 412, that zone there, acts as a major resistance area. There's orders to be had there. Pay attention to it. If you're an equities person, you're already, if you're talking about rejecting that level and playing a short through at 412, you're already $1 in the money, right? So just pay attention to these levels if that's what you play as well. I think I'm getting a nice little setup here on the NQ. It's having a hard time getting back through 80, not giving you a lot of strength. Delta is pushing up with it, but it's more so flattened out. Price is trying to make new highs. Delta flattening out. Not a lot of new buyers or sellers. When the sellers start to come in, you start to see a big red push down here. That's when you're going to get a nice break. And then hopefully we could break this overnight high. And then just give me that hard flush to the VWAP. I could get my stop to break even pretty quick. Or be wrong above overnight highs, right? 10 points, 61 is where I would be wrong. Because I think if we get back that high, then we get back to 70. And then if we get to 70, we get to 80. But if we fail this level, we should fail it fast. I should be right quickly. And I could be wrong quickly as well, right? So I could just find out what I'm going to be doing on this trade, right or wrong, and then just move on to the next one. So that's what I'm looking at here. Short through the overnight high, down to VWAP, down to previous day highs, overnight lows. That would be the ultimate, just quick short sell move here, overnight low. Like there's a little gap there, which is interesting. It's not huge, but I don't think markets like to have gaps as much as they'll get filled eventually at some point, but I don't know how long it's going to take. So you see price attempting to make new highs here. Probably will. Let's see what happens on the Delta. You're getting a good strong Delta push, so probably continuing on. But look at this Russell. I can't see it because I don't have a thing for it, but the Russell is pushing downside down to the low, middle of the range of the opening range. So Russell is getting weak. It's been kind of leading us in direction, so be interested in that short. I like this, even up here for that, failure. But as I mentioned, this is the overhead level that I'm interested in. There's a lot of orders that are probably sitting up in that area, but it doesn't have to get all the way there. It could be anywhere from 93, where we're kind of really tickling around at, all the way up into 850, 50-ish. So pretty strong move to the upside since we were talking about it 2 days ago at the 62 level. I had this key level drawn up. I mentioned if we didn't break, I don't want that. If we didn't break through that low at 162, we were talking about it down here. Right here, we were talking this right when we got there, right? I was mentioning it. You go back a couple days ago on the streams. You can check it out right at this time, right around 10 a.m. on Monday. I said I like the long off the 162.25 level because it's my major structure level. This is also the breakout level from January. December's highs. So this is a very key point where if we don't have any new information to take this year negative, then there's no reason that this would have gone negative, right? So we got the bounce from there. And then ever since that bounce came in, you can see we've been just constantly rallying. We went level to level here, broke through that next level. Now we're rallying right back into this key breakdown point that we had the, what was that day? We broke it down April 17th, Wednesday, right? So we came to it, support, broke it. Is it going to act as resistance now? That's going to be the key. That's why I'm interested in that 30 level. But also it comes down into these wicks, right? So, down into 800 even, right? 800 even up to 850 is that zone, and we're kind of right on it right now. So there could be the reason why we're slowing down at our area of interest here at that 88, pushing into that 800 level. We're sitting here green on the day. You can see we are on Top Step X platform. It's Top Step's proprietary trading platform that they created for their traders. I like it. It's got a lot of good functionality to it. I like the trading view charts that they utilize. They don't have all the indicators from trading view because a lot of those are just like placed in by users, but every day, every week, there seems to be an update into this. It grows. There's a lot of good, useful information. And I don't like to use a ton of indicators for myself. All I need is a good VWAP, some volume, and then I would like my cumulative delta on here, but I can flip back and forth and see what I got with that here. I really like it. You can see all these wicks above. Wick. I really like this setup for myself for shorts. If it breaks it, it should kind of come down here. I like that wedging type pattern there. This is similar to yesterday. Hopefully it doesn't screw me over like yesterday did, where I got tickled in and then it ripped right back up. I think that if there's going to be resistance here, it'll resist it well prior to the overnight high. I think we'll probably catch a bid somewhere around the 60s. I don't know if it will wick the overnight highs or wick through these lows here, but if it does, I really want to catch into that. Like I said, still have enough room to view up to capitalize, make a decent, at least 1-to-1 on it, and then be able to trail it through VWAP, hopefully. This is the same deal where I said I liked it at 600. I wanted to take the short from 6 and never took it. This is very similar, except, I saw these wicks up top. I kind of consider that the break of this line here that I just drew up and on the other chart would kind of act the way it did. It kind of, you see that breakdown from it. Do you get a stronger breakdown? Does Delta play in your favor? Are we going to start to see a fight here? You can see that there is wicks on the high side, wicks on the low side. Now we're kind of battling through this congestion area. So it looks like it's pushing downside sell. Microsoft's still selling from the 412 level. So if you sold off from that 412, good on you if you are a Microsoft trader, because that is working out for you. I failed this overnight high, then I potentially, like I said, first target, usually VWAP. Hopefully we could kind of burn through VWAP and I don't have it get much resistance on it. But I'm going to take the short because it is my plan here to go through this level, and if it comes back to it, to short it. So let's see what happens. If it gets heavy through it, it'll be nice. If we get stopped down on it, it happens. But for the most part, we are looking to execute on the same plan every day and see what happens. And I am pretty confident that the strategy works using our level. But I did say if this is going to come down into here and hold, it probably doesn't get to overnight highs. It probably rejects that 60 level. So if it bounces from 60, it continues on, then I think we'd probably never get filled on this. But if you could see maybe a lower high into 80, then maybe. But I like shorts on this market. It's getting heavy. It's hitting off on that overnight high. I'm going to alert this to see if it gives me any sort of flush, any sort of follow through. Let's see if the sirens will help push us downside. Run the sirens a bit here. Overnight high acting as support. If it doesn't, if it gives up the goat, we should just flush. It should go fast. I should be able to move this We'll see what happens. Just running the sirens, getting your eyes on the board. Pay attention to this level. You can see how much it's acted as resistance. Resistance, support, resistance, resistance, support, support. A little bit of a bounce. Could we get the break of it on this candle here? And if it does break, do we go straight down to VWAP? If we do go straight to VWAP, how far can we go down? Right? Maybe I'll go to break even at VWAP. If we get through VWAP, I'll trail it to there, and then hopefully we can rotate to overnight lows, right? Let's see what happens here. Do we get the full move or not? Sirens are running. We're in short here. I want to see a breakdown of this overnight high. If it's just going to wick me in and reject, then it is what it is. We have to take our plan, execute on our plan, and work it out. Heaviness down into the VWAP area. Hopefully that just continues on. Come on down into the VWAP. Push down. There we go. So we pushed into VWAP. We're at break even. Let's see if we can break through VWAP. If we can do that, S&P's broke through VWAP, so we should hopefully be able to keep this heaviness going. Microsoft pushing down into the lows. Let's see if we can keep getting heavy. Let's get heavy. Let's get heavy. I'm going to trail it on top of this candle now. You can see we are pushing into VWAP. Everything that I said as far as the failure is concerned has played out. We've executed up to this point exactly how we wanted to. If we can break through VWAP with some force here, then I am going to go my stop to VWAP because that's my target normally, right? I'm targeting VWAP. If we could get through it, I will take my stop right to the top of that VWAP area. So it's flush VWAP. It's banging on its head. It's banging its head on it. If it breaks it, it's going to go heavy. There we go. Breaks it, gets heavy. Everything we talked about is happening right here, right now. Let's use VWAP as our stop. Let's go, baby. Come on now. Come on, baby. Get heavy, get hard. Let's do it. Sirens are running. If it's bothering you, it's okay. It's keeping you involved. Let's get this through this low here. Can we get through the low? If we could get through there and get down into the overnight lows, we could rotate this down pretty heavy. I would love to take it down there. If it just melts and gets me in here and fills me up, then good. But I would like to even, if we get close to it, I'm going to move this take profit down to the purple area, and then I'm going to trail my stop. But usually, like I said, I'm trailing to VWAP. I'm giving back some of this profit. It is what it is. Okay, there we go. 400, a nice little $400 move. I'll take the money. I'll take it. I'll run the sirens, baby. That's why we lock ourselves out, right? Yesterday we talked about, oh man, we kind of just had that little bit of a, didn't get followed through. Got paper cutted to my personal loss limit. And instead of saying I could get it back, I can make that money, I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to make that trade. And what do you know? One good trade puts us back in the green for the week. And we're a happy camper, right? So now we're just going to wait, see what kind of follow through we get on this. I do believe that the full rotation comes into here. I just have to follow my plan with using VWAP as the stop once I get through it. This low here was important. I could have trailed down to that low, took a couple $100 more off the table, but the risk to reward there was still good for me, right? I think I got into like 700, 4, 5. I risked like 200 more of my profit there to allow this to rotate further to the downside, right? So I'm willing to give that to the VWAP because if it's going to continue and stay heavy, then it would go, right? And now we're giving a lot more back. So I'm happy with that. I can't be mad at trailing that down into there. My plan was executed. I stuck to it. We rotated down through here, and we caught from overnight high to VWAP, which is my normal game plan. And obviously, like I said, you can only do what your plan allows you to do and not be mad about lost money that you never had. I mean, I had it. You could just trail really, really tight. But as I mentioned, the way the heaviness goes into that support level, if it breaks that and goes, you'll never even look back at VWAP. So my VWAP stop would have been perfectly fine, right? Now looking at it, if you are interested in it, we're now within the overnight range. Once again, we've accepted back in the overnight range. We failed to break it. We failed to hold above it. Now we're within it again. Let's see if it stays here within the overnight high and the overnight low, because like I said right here, S&P's is holding below its VWAP. NQ does like to do a dance. It likes to push up. It likes to get back through VWAP, and then it'll run its way back down and then never look back again. However, we're still closer to this overnight high, so I think maybe we pop into there possibly and then fail it again and rotate. But Microsoft, very heavy. Overall, very good trade. Hell yeah, Ray. I'm happy that you caught that. Like I said, up here, I was interested in this short at the 80s, right in there. I saw these wicks. You see these wicks pushing up, pushing up, pushing up. Failures every single time to break out up into that key level of 800. I did mention that 800 all the way up to 850, that blue circle there that I drew up that's crude, was that really interesting support resistance level. So as we saw these wicks coming, I talked about it when I went over to this chart here to check the delta, right? I love when price tightens up, it gives you some wicks on the high side, and then breaks through a little wedge pattern. Because usually you could limit your risk right here, right? You limit your risk to about $200 and look at your reward potential, right? Your reward potential, even if you just take it to VWAP, is $1,000. So I didn't front run it because I was sticking to my plan, right? My plan was failure of the overnight high. I could have cheated it. I could have. I thought about it, and I just didn't do it, which is fine by me because, like I said, I'll take that money and run. The next important level, if you are looking for a breakdown, if this is going to fail and continue on for the rest of the day to the sell side, that 711 to 700 level is the base of a little bit of a right here, this level here that breaks. You could see it on this chart better, this trading view chart, right? We rallied up. Even if we get up in there a little tighter, right? We tighten into the bodies here. A breakdown of that area right there. Support, support, support. A bounce. That was a weird noise. Got a little bit of a bounce. Wicked off the high here. You can see that 30-minute wick off that high. Now we're coming back down towards this support level. If that support level breaks, it looks like even 715 or the low of this 30-minute candle at 712 right here. A failure of this, right? This is like a quasi 1 minute head and shoulders if we go over to this one, right? If you fail this level, that was a very important support level. You fail that, I think downside pressure pushes us even probably into that gap fill at 660. 660 would be that downside area, which is the previous day high. Close is down in the purple. Yellow is the overnight low. I mean, realistically, like I said, I felt like if we could fail this high, crack through that level here, anywhere between 712 and 700, you got that rotation down to that overnight low and you're pretty much set. But we are happy with the short there that we did catch. We caught it. Some people like Ray caught it from the high up here. I called it out up there. I waited for my confirmation because that's just what I do. I am all about timing my entries and getting in right. Yesterday we were a little bit off with our timing. Our calls were pretty good. And just the follow through just didn't come through on some of them. So we kind of stopped ourselves out. There's some heaviness coming in. Larger selling coming in at this 725 to 730 level. 16 lot getting filled here. Is this going to be a wick of the VWAP and a rotation back higher? Or is it going to be wick here, rotate down? We're switching to the gold bowl mug. And we got a little pour over action. Daddy just drinks coffee all day. And we're going with headband hump day here. Normally I'm a hat guy, but we're going with the headband hump day because just wanted to change it up a bit. So we are good right now. We're sitting up 439.40. Yesterday we had a little bit of a losing day, but I locked myself out on my personal loss limit. And we made it back, and we're green for the week once again. So, good on that. We're going to look for that next trade. If anybody has anything that they're looking at, let me know. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. I see there's a good amount of people over there. Hit the like, subscribe if you like kind of what we talked about there. If you want to rewind and check out when we ran the sirens, how that short worked out there for you. I was talking about it prior to running it up here. That short, I waited for confirmation of the breakdown of the overnight high. I do feel like there is some heaviness to come in. Microsoft is at a support level, though, at 410. So if Microsoft holds 410 and starts rotating back towards 412, you probably do get this rotation back to that 800 area, especially with this higher low Wicca VWAP pushing into that overnight high once again. Do you get the actual follow to actually get the continuation? But that's not something I'm going to be convinced of yet. Let me see what Nvidia is doing. Nvidia bouncing from the 822 level, which is the pretty much like the high of yesterday. It wicked down into yesterday's high consolidation level towards the end of the day, and now is kind of bouncing off of that. Microsoft still bouncing from 410, so I do think that maybe you get a little continuation through the overnight high if you break it here because of just Microsoft. I don't know what Tesla did. Tesla pulled back some and now is off to the races, breaking the high of the day. So be careful on any more shorts for the time being. I think the short play, Apple even trying to push through 168, which was that key breakdown level. So everything now, it's earnings season. It also seems like it doesn't matter what the earnings are. The earnings are going to give you buying pressure. Everything on this market just wants to go up. Also, like at the end of the day, like Deck was talking about how all these things, he was looking at the miss, all that stuff. I got to do the tax thing. I have to go pick up some shirts from our printer, the Lamont Brands printing company out here in Houston, Texas. They're fantastic. They serve the Houston area with all your screen printing, embroidery, advertising needs. They're a great company. They printed some of our shirts for us, so we're trying to switch over from print on demand to actual holding some inventory so we could actually get some stuff to you guys without worrying about the on-demand printer stuff. But as we grow, you'll start to see some more stuff with the Day Trading Coffee Company brand. Tomorrow, we won't be on stream due to us sponsoring a golf outing, so we will be out there. I'll probably run a live on my Instagram, so if you go on Instagram and follow me at Policing Pips, you'll see what we got going on. Also follow at Day Trading Coffee Co. If you follow that, that'll be a live as well. We'll show our whole setup, everything that we got going on with the coffee company out there at the golf course, sponsoring the Houston Police Department's baseball team so they could have a nice season where they don't have to spend a ton of money on their own and they can go and enter some tournaments and support themselves and have some good mental health days on the field as opposed to in the uniform on the streets. So that's what we're out here helping out. As I mentioned, I think if the Microsoft bounce comes in, even if it is this just shallow bounce that we are maybe seeing here, possible head and shoulder up into 411, this price probably gets close to 800. If you start to see a lower high form, then the failure and rotation downside might come in again, and we could potentially take a secondary shot at this overnight high short. Another failure of the overnight high does give me reason to believe that we could push downside. So I did draw this up. Like I saw it coming. I was like, wow, this looks really tight. I see these nice little wicks on the high side, and we got that there. We are seeing a little bit of a delta flattening here as we're approaching these new levels here. There's a big congestion zone that I mentioned before that we broke down from. This congestion area here at that 770 area. So there isn't it. That's probably why we're going to get this delta congestion. The Russell is now popping, and the S&P is holding above their opening range high. So I might be cautious on this sell, but I do think if we get this lower high here and it stays valid, if Microsoft can break below 409.86, then I probably look to get this thing short one more time. I apologize for the sniffles if it's going to bother you. I'm on the back end of it. I think it's more of an allergy thing because I don't have like any other symptoms. The cough's gone. It's just maybe it was a cold into some allergies. We are in some blooming seasons out here in Houston area. If you're in YouTube and you are a trader and you enjoy watching trading or anything of that nature, head over to tradecaster.com. I put the link in the chat. Also, it's in the bio if you want to get over there and be a part of that community. It's going to be beneficial to you. You don't have to scroll through YouTube, finding this trader, that trader, running through the scams. It's a trading streaming platform. That's it. There's nobody else on here. You could come on and you could trade futures with me. You could trade futures with Caesar. You could go over to Deck's room. You could go to AK's room. You could go to Mo's room. You could see all these people and their trading styles and learn a little bit about what they do on a day-to-day basis. But also you could just hop back and forth. If there's a point where I take a trade and I might reload on this short here again based on this, but I might not. I want to see what happens with this delta here. I think that's another rotation to the downside. I'll sell one more time through here, see if I can catch the same move or more. We're short again. Run the sirens, baby. Run the sirens. Let's see if we can get this short to pop downside. If this is just going to be a wick bottom, then I'm going to be stopped out. But I'm willing to give back a little bit of these gains to see if I can get the same play to work out again. Let's see if we can get this to melt off. Looks like it wants to get heavy again. If we break through the VWAP again this time, I think we could get some follow through. As I mentioned, I think this level here, the 712, is going to be the major support level. If it breaks through that 712, then you really will get a good flush. See if we can get the secondary run to the downside. I am short. It's holding, but I don't know if it'll hold long. If it's going to give you a bounce, it might bounce quick. Let's see what happens on Tesla here. I heard Tesla something or other. Tesla rejecting that high. Nvidia selling. Microsoft selling. I think we do get a good short here. I'm not going to risk a ton. I'm going to risk the top of that candle there now, which is the overnight high, because if it pops off there, I don't want to give back much more of my gains that I've already had. I am just going to trail it tight. If I could get through this and hold down there, then I could bring myself to break even. But I just don't want to risk a lot of my gain here. But it is a good short, right? There we go. We're to break even. Let's see if it'll push. If it's going to get heavy, it should get heavy fast, like I said. I'm not here to bullshit you. Do I want to move this? Yeah, I'm going to stay at break even. Break even it is. If it pops up, then we're out. It's worth the shot. It's worth taking a free trade for me, right? Now I'm not risking anything. Everything here is free money. We are short. We're looking to see if it'll flush. If it does flush, we will be in. If it pops up at all, we'll be out. But it looks like we're still in. We're still short. Let's see if we can get to VWAP. If we can get to VWAP and through the bottom, it's going to be a nice heavy move. I am risk averse here, so I'm at break even. If it goes, pops up, and then shorts again, you should be able to make pretty good money on this short here, just based on the heaviness of this market. Microsoft just failed its level at 408, 409. Hopefully it doesn't recover it. It looks like we want to kind of get in there. Let's see if it's going to stop me out and go. I think it might, tickle its head up, pop up, and then stop me out. Oh, there we go. Getting a good flush. Getting that good flush to the downside. Get to the VWAP. We're going to do the same trade again. Got to the VWAP. Getting to the VWAP. Let's see if it'll break the VWAP this time. If we can break the VWAP with some good force, we should be able to break that 12. If we break 12, I think the low comes in, that overnight low. So I'm going to give it to break even because I'm up, because I'm able to risk a little bit more on this trade as far as giving it some back. I want to be at break even. I want to see if this will rotate through this low. If it can get through this low here, I'll go to VWAP. I will take $100 though. That is true. Because if it pops off of there, I'll be stopped out. Go candle to candle on it. Oh yeah, that's a nice little pop off there on the VWAP. Microsoft trying to break through the low of the day. If Microsoft breaks low of the day, then you could expect this NQ to rotate down. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, get heavy, baby. Get heavy. Let's go. We called this short out. I said I was going to reload on it. Let's see if it'll rotate down some more. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Let's go. Get through that 20. It's got to get through 20. If it gets through 20, it gets through 12. And if it gets through 12, then you're going to get some nice heavy flushing coming on here. This market's going to break to the downside if it does flush this low of the day. If it breaks 712, then we should not see VWAP again. it holds 712, then you rotate back up again, and that's just how it's going to be. It could be the third, leg up, but right now our stop is VWAP, and all we could do is just make more money. I am at a point today where it's not if I make money, it's how much I make, and I stole that line from Clay Trader. Shout out to Clay Trader. If you like some YouTube stuff, check his stuff out. He's very honest, very transparent about how he trades. So overall, like I said, we are making a great execution here. I think if we could break through 12, we could get heavy, but it's trying to fight that 12 level pretty strongly right now. So we could get stopped out here at VWAP, but we've secured another 365 on it. I'm quite happy with that. As far as allowing it to breathe a little bit. I want to get heavy. I want to get to the overnight low. That's my goal. Overnight high to overnight low is mainly that full rotation on a range bound day. Maybe after a day like yesterday where you're trendy to the upside. If I can break this low here, we should crack. Let's see if we can get heavy hard fast here. Give me that heavy flush. Heavy flush. Give it to me. I need you to break through 20. If you break through 20, you got to get through 12s. If you get through 12s, then I'll probably put my stop at 20. Yeah, I'm going to go stop just above there. Secured another 495. Come on, baby. Give me that flush of 12. Break through this low. Gotta talk to it sometimes. Be nice to it. Be nice to it. If I get stopped here, cool on that. It's another $500 trade. Just gonna keep taking those and taking them and taking them and taking them. Let's go. Woo! Beautiful day in the neighborhood here. This is why you stop yourself from making those stupid moves yesterday and you just take it and go, right? Because we're up 931 on the day. That's how you make a recovery from your losses on the previous day. I hope that the hater yesterday could come back in and talk some more shit so I could talk shit back. It'll be cool. But, it's nice to have some haters because that means you're doing something right. You're out here every day putting yourself on the line and showing what you do live. Just because they can't do it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Everybody could do this. I promise you, you could do this. Just got to limit your risk. I think this still melts. I think this still goes through this 12. If 12 breaks, low, overnight low comes in. But I'm up 931 on the day. I'm seeing the market really well. So if we pop back up into the overnight high again and do something around there, maybe I'll take that short one more time. But the VWAP is getting a lot closer. It's making it a lot harder for me to justify my risk to reward, right? Today's a good day that you're going to have to review. I think if 12 breaks, overnight low comes in, no problem. But it's got to break, right? Microsoft wicked its bottom a couple times, and now it's rotating a little bit. So like I said, we're kind of basing a lot of this on this equities markets. Microsoft was breaking its key level. We were failing that overnight high breakout again. Same reason we took the first one is the same reason we took the second one, except it worked out even better, right? Because I was looking for that pop to 70 on that first break. We got that pop to 70 on the second break and that failure, and it worked out beautifully. Like, this was a perfect move. This one just took a little bit longer to give me that breakdown. It gave me a little bit better of an entry up here, but this one right here was actually to the game plan, right? This was exactly up into 70, fail 70, rotate through overnight high, trail the VWAP. I trailed a little further than VWAP just because I kind of felt how this was coming, slowing down a bit. But we are on an XFA. You could see it right here on a funded account, up 931 on the day, made back yesterday's loss and then some. And so we are happy for the day. It's 9:19 a.m. We haven't even been on here for an hour. I mean, I've been streaming for an hour, but market hasn't been open for an hour, and we're up $931. Give it to me, baby. Let's go. Got to clap it out, because not only because of the day's trades, right, but because of yesterday's acceptance of losses. If you could accept your losers on days where you're losing, and you could capitalize on days where you win and maximize your wins, the winning days are going to start to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the losing days are just going to stay the same. I'm going to keep losing $500 on my losing days and make my winning days, right? Day stats. Here we are. We've had 2 losing days, both for just about $500. A little bit over because fees and whatnot. But, you could see we win a lot more than we lose. And then when we do win, we could do things like we did today where we made 931. So we are technically up about 500 on the week. Tomorrow we're not trading because we'll be at the golf course supporting the golf outing for the Houston Police Officers baseball team. So they have their golf outing for a fundraiser so they can have fund their season. Here we go. Let's see if 20 breaks here. If 20 breaks, you got to watch 12. If 12 finally gives up the ghost, I think you do get down into this low here. So watch 12. I think 12 is that line in the sand here. I will draw you a little box so you can see it visually. That 20 to 12 area. 20 to 12. That, if this support breaks, you do have down to this low, and I think it comes in kind of hard. I see this support here. I get it. That could be an initial target, right? But I think you flush that. I think that breaks without much issue. I mean, it's support. Something about this level tells me that it won't. But if it does break, just watch that downside level there. Astra, I saw you were typing and then you gave up. But I mentioned, I don't know if you were in on the beginning of the stream, but I was talking about yesterday's setups and the break of 600 and the levels that we were talking about. And we kind of wanted to just go over those with you if you wanted to see them again, right? We were talking about the break of 600. You were asking about if 600 breaks, what the upside targets were. We drew up that 40 and that 688 up into 700. And, we didn't really get the good breaks of 600. I said you have to get it with a good volume break. And I did mention that we were going to get a lot of sideways chop, a lot of action on the side. And that's kind of what happened most of the day until you ended up finally getting the breakout around 1. I think it was 130. So you got to break. This zone actually worked better than the actual 600 level. But I did say if 600 does finally break with some volume, you get up to 40. There was that 40 target. And then the overnight, it never really followed through. Like I said, I didn't think it had a lot to get to that 88, which it never really did within our trading session. Obviously, once the overnight came in, that's when we got up into that next area. But obviously, you can see there was some interest at that 690 level for a little bit. And then back down here, that's where that next little area, right, I mentioned, that was the target from yesterday that I told you, that 688, 690. And you can see support. But I think if you get a good break of this right now, I think that 690 kind of gets ignored and we get down to that overnight low. So kind of reviewing yesterday's trade to kind of bring it into today's price action, you can kind of understand what's going on. I have to pick up some stuff later. I'm going to stay on till 11, of course, but I'm going to be very, very picky. Alrighty. Sorry, I get emails for the work. Watch the overnight high level. See what happens with it. Watch Microsoft. Watch NVIDIA. Watch Tesla. Apple, I find it's interesting because Apple has been so beaten down. A lot of what's going on with Apple doesn't quite correlate with the NQ. Hell yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Zuka-san. I appreciate it. Apple, not so much correlated of late. So I kind of stick to Microsoft. I stick to NVIDIA. Watch these kind of more. They're high, I think they're heavier weighted at this point than Apple is in the NQ. And the Tesla earnings yesterday. Tesla beat on its. Got crushed on its earnings and still just rallied up. I think it was just pretty much priced in. They were selling this thing down until they could get a good price on it. No matter what the earnings were going to be, they're going to bid it up. But now you can see Tesla is kind of failing this initial break of the pre-market high. So if it accepts back into the pre-market levels, I think down to 160 Tesla goes. I don't think Tesla will drag the NQ around as much. Watch NVIDIA and Microsoft both. I've been pretty keen on Microsoft being pretty directly correlated more consistently than most of these other names, right? And my levels on Microsoft have been working like fucking clockwork, right? We talked about, excuse me, I talk too much. I mentioned that this 412 level, this zone has just acted as a super important level over this whole, pretty much this year, right? I've talked about this 412 over and over. 412 and 406.18. This is where Microsoft wants to live, right? So I base a lot of my trade today off of our price action in the NQ, price action in the Microsoft. I said if Microsoft gets into this zone and starts to fail it, you could probably rotate it right back down to the 409, and that'll give you the failure of our overnight high, which it did. Once again, we bounced over the overnight high again on the NQ, and you saw that Microsoft popped its head over 409 and started to fail 409.86. Once we started to fail the overnight high, gave me that added confluence plus my delta pushes and all that to give me that next leg down into what I consider this major support here for 17,720, too many sevens, down into 17,712. I think if you do get through this purple zone, you get a nice flush down into the overnight low. I'm 2 for 2 on my trade. Well, technically I'm 3 for 3. The first trade of the day was a nice $37 winner. We'll call it a break even. We're 2 for 2 with a break even. We'll call it 2 for 2 with a walk if we're going to go baseball terms. So we can see exactly what's going on. I'm probably going to get hold off on taking the short, especially because, yes, it's a great setup. I feel like you got a big high here, a wicket off, secondary push. You do have a little bit of a lower high, lower high, lower high wedge pattern here. So if this breaks and then you get through the overnight high, maybe that this blue circle comes back into play, that overhead resistance. But if this bottom cracks, I think that's going to give you a heavier flush to the downside, right? So just watch these levels here. They're kind of key points. I think the overnight high is going to be a key level, and then this purple box is going to be a key level. But for me personally, my strategy, I'm only calling for A+ setups, and at the moment, this setup here would not classify for myself as an A+, although it is good because I could take it, but it would be more like an A. And then being up on the day the way I am, I'm probably not willing to give back on a less than an A+ for me. It's probably an A and close to an A+. I just don't have that added layer of that one last thing. So Astra, my stop loss, I like to risk no more than 250, give or take a couple dollars, right? If the next level of support or resistance is like 260, 270, I'll still give that to the top of that resistance. But most of the time, I'm really using that $250 risk limit because I only want to lose if most of the time. That's a little more than 10 points, right? 250. Let's do the math. 250 divided by 20 is like half a tick. It's 12 and a half points. So it's a little more than 10 points of risk that I'll give it. I use support and resistance levels. I use key zones. And realistically, if I'm looking for a flush of a level, let's call this overnight low, this overnight high, my entry point, I really only like to give it right back up above. I want to be right so fast that I don't have to worry about my max 250 getting hit. If I'm worried about the 250 getting hit, I probably get out prior. Just because everything about my strategy is stopping in and getting filled and then trailing my stop pretty much immediately. The 250 is more of an emergency if it ticks me in and then rallies on like a crazy big bid, right? Or on the opposite end, if I'm going long, then if I'm risking, if my entry is to be long through 20 here, let's say, and I risk down to 10, as soon as I'm right, I want the price to go on me. I'm more about timing. I'm more about being right fast and then wrong fast. So if price kind of just dances around, you can see my entries were these two, 1, 2. If it gets to be like this one here where it ticks me in and then it just pops, I really don't want to be involved in that because it never really flushed my level. So my real stop is mainly my level that I want to break. And if there's a candle that's kind of like just above it, I'll use that support. So even though my max risk is 250, this risk here is 55 to 58. But I only stopped in lower than that because I want to be confirmed that this level is breaking and it's not just wicking it, right? So my strategy is slightly different than some other people's as far as their risk parameters and rules. I just use that I don't want to take an oversized loss more than 250 because my account size is not that big, right? A 50K combine, all I have to risk is my balance, right? Currently, that balance right now is sitting at 2,500 after getting the $800 payout. And just to let you know, I did the stream on Friday, and I requested a payout on Friday, and it hit my bank account last night. So Top Step pays. I would show you my bank account, but I don't want to show you my bank account. But I promise you, they pay. I'm here to give you transparency. I'm here to give you the realities of things. And if people don't pay out, I don't want you trading on their platform. I don't want you using their stuff, right? So not only did I get paid out, I got paid out within a couple days. They say it takes 7 to 10 days. Some people, it might take a little longer, but for me, right off, a couple days, 2-3 business days. Astra, it's hard to tell you exactly what your risk should be. I know you're trying to gauge my strategy and understand kind of like what I'm about. Once you start to learn your risk tolerance, you understand your account size. Let's say if you're in a 50K XFA, right? Like how I'm in a funded account for 50,000. Your max drawdown is 2,000. As you build a buffer, maybe you can increase that risk a little bit. But the only way I'll increase my risk really is if I'm increasing my position size. So let's say my balance is up to 5,000. I don't know, I've taken some withdrawals, but my balance is at 5. I feel like I could risk 2 contracts now instead of 1. And with that 2 contracts, instead of risking 250, maybe I'm risking 500. But my max daily loss limit, I may push a little bit higher than the 1 trade and be done, right? I'm looking to be trying to execute as little as possible, maximize my gains, and with the risk parameters that I have, it's all going to be about position size more than it's going to be about like distance to stop, because most of my stops are going to be around that 10 to 12 points, and then that's it. If there's like a huge distance to the previous resistance, to the previous support, I'm unlikely to take that trade. So I forgot who it was that I heard it from, but it was actually really good advice that they said. It might have been Akil Stokes. I'm going to say it was Akil. I'm going to give him the credit, or Greystone, one of those guys that I was just listening to their stuff. You have to find where you're going to be wrong first, if that makes any sense. Don't look for entries. Don't look for anything like that. Okay, we're looking at this position. Where am I going to be wrong? Where is price going to go through and then just take off to the moon, right? Okay, I'll be wrong if price gets above overnight highs and continues on, right? Above 61, we'll call it. So I'll be wrong against 61. Where can my entry be opposed to that where I'm wrong, right? So if my risk is only $250, that's my personal risk limit on my account, and we're going to take it using this setup, right? I can't be wrong over 61, because if it gets over 61, I think it continues to 70, and if it gets to 70, I'm pretty sure 80 gets tagged, right? That's where you start to be like, okay, longs could come in here and step me up 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, and I could be down 30 points really quick, right? So if I'm wrong at 61 and I can only risk 250, that's 12 and a half points. The lowest my entry could be from 60 is down here, right? So 50 to 60 is 10, 48 is 12. So the lowest I could enter where my stop would still keep me correct and in my risk limit, then that would be it. I think we're going to melt through here right now. This seems like this is going to be the next touch break. Let's see. I hear Tesla yelling on the... there's Tesla breaking. Microsoft did break through that 409 to the downside. If it breaks the low of the day, I think we do break through this. If we break through the 12, Microsoft will follow down to 406.18. But if we reject this and hold, the crack of the VWAP to the high side up, but I think holding below VWAP, S&P is below VWAP. You're running right into this trend line break support level here. You get through this 12 level, overnight lows come in. I think there will be maybe a little congestion here at 90, down into 88. That'll be your resistance. but I don't think you get a lot of resistance there. I think it kind of flushes that and gets into these lows if it does break this purple zone. Yeah, so just if there's any advice that you take today or, in general, find out where you're going to be wrong first. Understand what your risk is as far as dollar amounts, because that's all this is limiting your risk on your account size depending on your personality. If you're a one trade and done and you want to limit your risk to your max loss for that day and be done, you might have a wider stop, right? If I was my max loss limit for the day is 500, I could risk double what I just said. I could risk 22 points, right? 24 points. There's that flush. There's a nice break. It should give you the nice follow through now. Let's see if it does. Yeah. Find out where you're wrong. I'll be wrong above 20 on this trade, right? If this breaks 12 and doesn't follow through, you'd definitely be wrong above 20. Because if it gets above 20, then it accepts. It gets back to VWAP. It gets above VWAP. It rolls, right? This could be a sweep of the low to get people involved in longs and rip us higher. But like I said, I think that 12 goes. So I would have been stopped at 20 if I took that short at 12. That's just how that works. I'm wrong there. I feel like if I got an accept above 20, then a rotation higher comes into play. That's where I would think. But it looked like that level. That's why I didn't take this trade. It's not an A+ for me. It seemed like if it was going to flush that low, it was going to hold. It didn't hold. It just wicked it. So now be cautious. It could still flush. It could still go. I still think that overnight low does come into play if this area just continues to hold. But for me, right, like for this trade, I would have had to have been out already because of my risk parameters. Other people with more risk, or if they're going to take one good trade a day, if this is their A+ setup that they want to take, they could maybe risk to VWAP, maybe risk above this previous high. You're still valid in this trade if you risk to that level and you have a longer time horizon, longer target profit goal, right? If it breaks through and you're above VWAP and it's holding VWAP and you're good and you rotate down and your strategy calls for you to trail with VWAP or it's trail with swings or with moving averages or whatever it is that you decide, use those to your advantage. But find out where you're wrong, limit your risk to where you would be wrong, and then just play it the way you would play it, right? If Microsoft cracks here, then hopefully we could get some follow through on this push to the downside. I'm sorry. This cough is just not going away. I thought it was going away and then it didn't. I think it's the talking that I do. Too much talking, it leads to that. Not quite healing. It's still holding down here. You didn't get a good pop off that low, so potentially it's still going to be heavy. Give it some time if you are considering the short. Like I said, I liked it, but then I didn't. After that wick off bottom, the way it was so fast and the rejection of it, could be getting some people swept into the shorts, but Delta flat still creeping downside with price creeping down, still holding below opening range low, holding below VWAP. There's just a heaviness to this market that seems like it wants to come in and it just hasn't totally followed through yet. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to step out so I don't disgust you guys. All right, now trying to push through 12 again. See if it goes. The only other concern here is that S&P's overnight low is right here, that 5106.50. That needs to crack. Because S&Ps love to respect their levels better than the NQ, and the NQ tends to bounce if the S&Ps bounce. That's my another concern with this not being an A+ setup for myself. Just middle of a range for me also. I'm very much not into diddling in the middle for me, but like I said, I talk you through certain things. Oops, sorry. If you limit your risk on the days that you're wrong, and you can maximize days like today, you will be profitable long term. You just have to have the confidence in yourself to be able to come back and execute your plan, right? Yesterday, I executed my plan. I had this exact same thing yesterday, right? It rose up to key level 600, came back to my overnight level, or actually it was the only difference was it wasn't my overnight level. It was previous day, 2 days prior high. It came into it and rejected it and bounced, and that took me, but for here, we got our confluence. We confirmed it once and twice, took advantage of it and go. As I mentioned, I think we'll get to 90 here if this breaks and continues. There's the break of the S&P's overnight low, so this should hopefully continue to push unless this rejects. If the S&P rejects and starts to rotate up, you don't get the follow through here. But this 90 level here, you'll probably run into some congestion, and then the push to that overnight low, previous day high, gap fill type area for you. You can see this bigger time frame, this 30-minute. If you're into the 30-minute time frame, you broke this trend line. You bounced on it, bounced. Now you're into it. This is the last little line in the sand for it, right? There's the wicks that came in before. You want this thing to close below here, this 30-minute candle to close below here. Then you could get a real good probable push to the downside. Maybe not all the way to the lows, but 600, 660 closes the gap. Just food for thought if you are interested or not. I execute on my plans. You execute on yours. I'm just here to kind of provide you levels and go through it, right? Now we're going to push into that 90 level. Price just goes where it needs to fill up. Sorry, I got to answer messages. I apologize if the phone bothers you. A little bit of choppiness. Microsoft's still holding it. Not quite a break. Overall for me, right, the failure of this lower high here through this overnight high, if you short it through here and your plan is to be more of a person who will enter and then just wait for that longer term target, you could have been at break even and just let this thing go. I think realistically, this overnight low does come in. Rotational day today, a breather type day, especially once you just crack the key support level. We could dance around in here, but a slow grind back to the downside, usually on a day like after yesterday where you just kind of ground up, pushed up, continue to rally. If you get a wick off high twice, there's a good chance that you will rotate back down and kind of just continue into this area. I don't know if you get a full pullback, but at least you kind of dance around that overnight range and clean up that overnight inventory, right? This is blue line to green and yellow line here. That's the overnight inventory. Previous day range is down to this red. So green to red is the previous day's range. You can see how expansive that is from 413 to 661, a couple hundred points. And this overnight range here is blue to yellow, 775 to 664. So you can see the cleanup probably occur. And that's usually just what I try to capitalize on. Yesterday it didn't work out, and that's why I took some losses. I mentioned I'm not really a great breakout type trader. Some days I'll catch a good breakout, but it'll have to be around overnight highs, overnight lows, previous day highs and lows, and it would have to be a really good information that's telling me that it's going to break and hold. Most of the time, I'd say the reason my strategy works about 80% or so of the time is because breakouts fail about 80% of the time. So I usually am looking for failed breakouts, and that's my little edge in the market. Everybody's going to find their thing that they're good at and that they could see be repeatable, be able to do it over and over and over again, and just be able to stick to it, right? So we ran right down there into the 90. I said we probably run into a little resistance here, but not much. You might chop it a bit, but you should get through. If you do get through this 89, 88 level, you do probably get into that overnight low. So if you did take the first break, get stopped out, take the second break, maybe you're at least even. This is just if I was taking it. If you were taking it, possibly you were risking to the swing high, and then you would still be in and still be golden. Although once I start getting to levels, I start to get this little bit of a wedge. Hopefully it breaks down a little bit further. This is another wick on the bottom. Let's see if the delta's active. You got some delta pushing up a little bit. This center line here is when it goes into that negative territory, so potentially could be an interesting level for buyers and sellers. But really, nobody's buying or selling off of delta. It's just cumulative orders for the day. So more buyers than sellers so far since we have gapped up. But once we push down a bit further, maybe get into this level here, you'll start to see delta into the negatives. Ew, sorry about that. I apologize for the sniffles. Always. That's a big push into the breakout point. This is why, like I said, this is also, I would say, a continuation breakout type move, and that's why I don't trade it. I talk about it. I say things about it. Really, the trade that I'm trying to kind of keep you in is this short from the overnight high to the short to the overnight low, if that's your long-term horizon thought process. How it works through, this, if you watch this, like this seems like support, now resistance. Now, do we hold it and continue to rotate down, or does this now become a launching point for a squeeze? But I still think that we're still heavy. There doesn't seem like a ton of good information that would lead us to want to pop high side. But if it does, it's just purely technical, and whatever they do, they do. You got to just put yourself in good position to limit your risk and manage your reward, right? You get a little resistance here at 91. Maybe the second push through it gives you that break. Overall, hopefully everybody was able to capitalize on whatever I called out at that overnight high level. If you're kind of playing my strategy where I only use those levels, that's how I keep myself out of trouble. When I start doing things outside of those is when I start to get chopped up, start to really burn things. I really don't like to work in the middle of a range between overnight high, overnight low, and also between two major levels on my longer term chart, right? This level's the yellow zone above, yellow zone below. Those are my two longer term levels. So I'm nowhere near those to justify, hey, I'm near that level to be able to give me an entry. Yes, I have a break of this downtrend here, but that would have been more of a continuation of the trade that I was going to be in already from the high up here at overnight highs, right? These overnight highs, that's up above there. Those were those big wicks. This was the wick, rotate down. So like I said, that's where I keep myself out of the middle to keep myself out of trouble, to maximize my reward when I do make good trades. I could kind of just keep hammering my level, keep making good trades, and then just move to the next. So today would be the first. I have to do 5 $200 days. Headband, hump day, Wednesday here. worked out, changed the luck up a little bit. Maybe we'll go headband Friday as well. We'll see how I feel in the morning. Overall, when you are requesting payouts through Top Step, you have to have, once you request a payout, you have to wait 5 more trading days of $200 or more. Today would be the first one. The first I could have made 200 on the Monday, but I gave a little bit back to try and get more out of that trade. It didn't kind of work out. So today's the first $200 day plus on since the last payout. It's hard to just judge on the so it doesn't show on my my dashboard the withdrawal, so it's hard to understand a little bit. Oh, actually, maybe I don't have to wait more. It's still checked off. Maybe the account will allow you to withdraw now that you've had 5 winning days of $200. We'll see. The S&P is giving you a higher low here. And if it does break back above 5106, then watch this trend line, purple zone, potential break to the upside. If it doesn't, if the S&Ps could hold this yellow line and continue to kind of melt down a bit, then you should still continue this pressure to the downside. But just be cautious with the S&Ps making the same sort of lower high setup, higher low setup at a kind of a area of resistance for it. Then just be mindful of it. I do think that 100 level is a magnet, so we could probably push it. Yeah, there was that break, retest. Now we're trying to break that 90 level. See if 90 cracks. So good that it held. I was just kind of giving you the both sides scenario. $90 holds again. I did mention that 90 was going to give you some resistance. I didn't think it was going to hold that well, but seemingly like it's giving you a little bit of a problem here, just based on the amount of touches once, twice, all this whole consolidation and this consolidation. And then from yesterday, that was that target that I was mentioning prior. So 90 actually was a decent first target. See, it's hard for me to tell you if this trade would have worked out for you or not, because you could have either played the first break and maybe risked to 20 or risk to above VWAP. If you risk to above VWAP, you're still in the short. If you risk to 20, you're out, but you have a tighter risk, maybe you re-entered again and you're still in again, right? So I can't tell you how to manage your trades. I can't tell you how to set your stops, because everybody has different risk parameters. Everybody has different ideas on how much price might move before it goes in their favor. So they might not be as good with timing or whatnot. So it's realistically very difficult for me to say, hey, you could either still be in or not. All I can tell you is why price is doing what it's doing at the level it's doing. And if that information is going to help you or hurt you, use it to your advantage as far as what I'm just kind of providing here. Like, I'm just telling you, if it does this, then we may get to here. Nothing I say is gospel, obviously. We're not perfect in this trading world. And like I said, I didn't take this trade because I wasn't sold totally 100% A+ setup on it, right? So for me to tell you how to manage it, it would be poor. I just wanted to give you that. Be careful of this, be careful of that. Watch these levels, 90s, the 12s, the 20s, right? If we got through 12, 20, you got a liquidity sweep, pop, break, retest. Maybe it breaks down further. Maybe it stops here at 90 and it rotates back higher. Microsoft did start to curl. So if you're watching Microsoft as a little bit of a front run leader, if Microsoft gets it back above 409.86, you may see this thing start to pop off. If it doesn't, if Microsoft can continue to hold the lows, then this heaviness probably continues on. You know that these equities, these indexes are weighted with these Mag 7 names. The NQ, obviously, heavier weighted with Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla, Google, Meta, Amazon, those names. I just find that Microsoft is the current best thing to watch for me to kind of gauge what I'm doing. Nvidia has been for a long time. I just kind of see a lot of chop in Nvidia, not a lot of leadership today. Apple's been a little bit disconnected because it's been so beaten down. So I don't give Apple as much credit into the moves for the NASDAQ as it could, because a lot of times it'll rally and then the NQ will sell off of late. This is just lately. So today, my leader is Microsoft. And that's what I've been looking at, and it's been helping me out today. You have to just find what's leading, what's lagging, and if there's a disconnect or if there's not, and which name is going to be the name that's going to help you today. Obviously, Tesla had its earnings yesterday, so Tesla could have been important today. It failing to break above and hold its pre-market highs and rotate down to pre-market lows kind of helps your short as well, right? Because this market was propped up a little bit based on the Tesla just pushing up and rallying no matter what. So there's the break of 90. Once you broke 90, you hopefully can now tag off on the overnight lows on that 60 level. So hopefully if you were listening, or if you at least had that thesis in your mind, you could have capitalized on some of this move here. And as I mentioned, if I was a little bit more risk averse, could have left this at break even and just let it go to get to my targets. But I'm not. That's not the kind of trader I am. I'm a scalper. Just going to take what it gives me and run every single day. Just come out here, take my little piece, and go. Maybe with a bigger account, different strategy, more time on my hands where I could sit here all day. Or even if I don't want to sit here, if that's more of a swing trade idea where I could just set it, forget it, and go, I'm either right or wrong. I just don't have that ability. I like to be here. I like to feel the market because it's such a twisted world that a news could drop or something could happen and this thing could just do the total opposite of what it was doing. And I want to be here to be able to capitalize on it, or to be able to mitigate my risk, take my win or take my loss, and just move on and look for the next one. So that's really what I look for when it comes down to all that stuff. Tesla's still selling. Microsoft pushed that low one more time. It's trying to break it, but it just hasn't quite broke that low of 408.80. That was a nice little move there. Does Delta confirm it? That's pretty much the same, right? Delta pushed down into the negative, then popped back up. Price popped back up. This is the value area low here at 692. 692 is the value area low here. So if we could hold below the value area low, then you could continue on. If you want to reaccept back into value, could rotate back into the high end of value. It's kind of what happens a lot of times as well. I know a lot of people don't like to ask questions. They don't like to talk. They're focused on their trading. Doing that giveaway last week, I got a lot of good feedback. So I'm really, I appreciate everybody that signed up for the giveaway. We're going to continue to do more as we grow the viewership here. And we consistently get the numbers that we're getting, and we consistently can push it up and up and up and up. I'm going to constantly try and give back to the community, and appreciate you guys coming and listening to me talk and ramble about stuff day to day. For the most part, like I said, I got a lot of good emails from people. All I asked for was your username and your password, and people came in and actually went out of their way to say that I'm providing some value to them and that I keep it real. And that's all I try to do, is just keep everything real and let you guys know what I'm doing, be as transparent as possible. I'm not here, trying to be a scam artist. I'm just trying to make money trading and trying to help people that are maybe either further along in their journey or not as far along in their journey to do just as good or better than I do, right? Because I'm just trying to take little pieces, and some people want to make millions. I mean, I would love to make millions, but right now I'm going to be realistic and take what I could get out of these combines, out of these 50K accounts, and pay myself, support my family, and just make a better life, So that's what I'm trying to get for everybody else out here. So I appreciate everybody who went out of their way to send emails and write some kind things. And I appreciate the haters on YouTube. It's fantastic. When you get some people on YouTube talking shit, that's how you know you're at least out here long enough for somebody to come in and find your room to talk shit. So that's cool too. I'll take the haters all day. Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely, yeah, sure. I mean, realistically, everybody has to start somewhere, and I think coming into, I'm not saying just my room, but into like the realities of trading over here in TradeCaster, especially, you're not going to get a lot of that fluff, a lot of the, come in here, try to sell you a course. You might get like offers, say AK he has a course. I think YB has a course. Deck has education. This whole platform has education in it. If you watch day in and day out, when we're trading, when I'm trading, when AK's trading, when YB, Deck, Mo, any of these guys are trading, they're doing it really in front of you, actually trading, actually streaming it, talking about what we're doing, and you can learn little lessons instead of feeling like you're going to get sold a course or feeling like you're going to get scammed into giving some money or whatever. I don't know what these other people do, but I ran into it when I was searching in the beginning through Instagram. Everybody falls for this guy's got millions of dollars, he's got a Lambo, he's got this, he's got that. Start with the small basics, and then eventually you could grow into something like that if that's where you want to head. But it's nice to have the realistic end of it because it keeps you a little bit humbled and it keeps your expectations muted in the beginning. So you don't even if you do make one killer trade and you make a shit ton of money, you have to be able to do it again and again and again and again and again because you want to do this long term, right? You want to do this for a life of freedom and to be able to be your own boss, trade when you want, trade when you don't want. If you have some money stashed away, you want to not trade for a month or whatever you want to do, you could go and do a vacation because you don't have a boss, right? That's kind of what people really want when it comes to this, or a supplemental income or something that, can help pay the bills or take the kids on a vacation, whatever it is that you want to do. Trading's there to provide it for you, but you have to have that realistic, muted expectations of what it actually takes. You have to be out here every single day. You have to do your research. I haven't done it the last 2 weeks because we were up in New York for our trader meetup. And then last week I worked overtime and by the time I got home on Sunday night, it wasn't even worth, I was home Monday morning. It's not really worth me sending out the write-up, but weekly, I did my own research. I just didn't type the write-up to send out to everybody. But if that's going to keep people wanting that and providing that value, I'm going to keep doing it. I'll either do a video on it to make it a little easier for you guys, but you got to put it in the work on the weekends. You got to watch the news. I'm not going to say local news or any of this stuff. Look for global economic information. You don't have to watch CNBC and all this stuff, but go to Market Watch, go to Bloomberg.com, understand global economic tensions, know how that war in Ukraine and Iran and Israel and Hamas and how that affects oil prices and how that affects it. This is a big intertwined network of information. So just help yourself by staying informed on that end, and then you'll learn. Trading is just numbers on a chart, right? Clicking buy and sell and letting the market do what it's going to do. It's managing your emotions and understanding kind of what drives the market to do what it does. So hopefully right here, we're going to probably tag off that overnight low and that full rotation has occurred. That's kind of what I was looking for, but it's just too grindy for me to hold that long. And I used the VWAP as the stop. So for me, couldn't hold it. But if you played the breakdown, retest, push down into the overnight low, you could still be doing pretty well. Delta trying to push. We made new lows, but we didn't make new lows on Delta. So just be careful. This could run into some resistance here, could stop. But there it goes. Actually, there's a nice Delta push. You see that sellers pouring in, price pouring into the lows. There's the push right off that overnight low. So there's how the power of the levels could be used to your advantage, right? I talked about this, right? Resistance, support, break, retest, rotate down to overnight lows, clean up the gap, previous day high, trying to accept now into yesterday's range, right? And I mentioned yesterday's range is green line to red line down here. And that green line was important yesterday. Just left it there for my information only. That is not a key level that I am going to be trading off of. But now that we've made it, closed the gap, we're at that previous day low, previous day high, overnight low. I could be interested in looking for a long off this, but with the markets being so heavy, we just cracked that downtrend line, right? I said if that 30-minute candle closes below this trend line, you're going to get some follow through at least to 60, right, to close this gap here. And what do you know? We're right here at 60 right now. And I think there could be some more further downside to this, but I'm not convinced solely that it'll go all the way down. 600 could come into play, but I think that purple zone acts as a strong resistance if it does continue, if we don't get the bounce right here, right now. Purple zone I mentioned is down here that I was talking about, but I do think there's a chance you get that delta divergence here because you were getting it. Right now you got that pushed down, popping back up. You could see we're one standard deviation away from VWAP, so that could act as a support level. But I did mention that full rotation should come in, and it did, so that was very nice. Hopefully that helped somebody execute something out there in the world of the NASDAQ. But for me, I executed on my level twice. It worked. Now we're back at my levels again. Could you execute here? I'll talk you through if you're willing to take it. For me, potentially, I'm probably going to lock myself out of this and be done for the day trading. But I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to let myself have an opportunity for an A+ setup to come in. This could go make a new low down into 650. You can see that was the resistance there. 649, 650. Microsoft finally broke that low. Now at that pre-market support. Where am I at? I'm going to just make sure that everything is still showing the correct screen. We're still good. Like I said, hairband Wednesday working out well. 63% short on the tilt. A little heavier, not crazy. We got a little more coffee left in our pot here. There we go. If you are so inclined to need some coffee for your trading adventure, we did start daytradingcoffeeco.com. Link is in the bio of the YouTube. It's also in the alerts, but I could put it up in the chat here. Head over to daytradingcoffeeco.com. Use my code policingpips. You get 15% off always. But also if you sign up for the little thing there when it pops up on your screen, they'll send you I will send you a 15% off code. So you get multiple codes to use if you head over there. Realistically, I will like to use the coffee company as a way to help fund underfunded traders. My goal with it is to donate 10% of my profits to buying combines, giving stuff away, getting people into a position that maybe financially they couldn't do it, but because they have the skills, they've been on the stream, they're understanding our strategies, they have their own, they could kind of prove it to me a little bit. We could do the giveaways and make it work out. So that's my goal with that. I said 650 potentially could act as support, but right now I'd be very careful. It's very heavy. Microsoft did break pre-market lows. I think down into this purple zone here that you can see does give you the best support area for maybe a bounce, potentially. You can see it here. It was resistance, resistance, resistance all morning yesterday, then came back in and acted as support. So I think realistically this purple zone, this 600 to 620 level could be the resistance. Although that's just purely based on yesterday's information. The heaviness could continue with the way Microsoft acted through the low of the pre-market levels. And there is some sellers coming in here at 63, 650. If Microsoft does push down towards 406.18, if it does get that far, that deep, then potentially a bounce does come in at 406.18, and that's probably where the NQ bounces. So just watch Microsoft for a bounce around that area. We could get a divergence here. I did mention that if we wick 650, that we could potentially come back up, maybe give us a lower high, get a delta divergence, and push back up through this overnight low, and then rotate back up to VWAP. That's kind of like what I look for my my A plus strategy, right? So I'm looking at this delta here. I want to see price get back up, fail that, come back down, try either wick the low, make a new low, or not quite make a new low, make a higher low here, and then push up. And then I want to get delta to not make a new low. I want to get this delta here to push down and stay up above this wick if price pushes down and gets below here. That's my best setup there for that. But like I said, I'm not a really great momentum breakout trader, but failed breakouts to me tend to work best. So if this is going to be a failed breakout of the overnight low and the previous day high, it's a very key level there. That's where I think right now we'd be interested. But I need to see a secondary push to give me that if this is going to accept back into here for the long. If it just V-bottoms, I can never really take that trade because I don't get that delta divergence to make it from an A to an A plus setup. That delta divergence is really that key to my final piece to the puzzle to get me in or out. So this would be another push. You'd want the price to break the low, and you'd want delta to hang around the highs, push into here, maybe get down a little bit lower, but not quite. I think, let's see, Microsoft wicked that low, reaccepted back into its pre-market levels, the base of that support, which was 408.50-ish. I don't think I trust this to be a failure. I think we could continue down just based on the heaviness. Like I said, the crack of the trend line, we did clean up that 60 level that I mentioned. For this to come in and fail and then rotate back up, it would be interesting to see. You're seeing price push back down. S&P is pushing down. If we break this low and fail, like I said, and get that delta divergence, then maybe the long back through the overnight low gives you the continuation, at least of VWAP or that purple zone, which would still confirm the downtrend, right? The break of the, not the downtrend, but it would keep us in a bearish, capacity, right? I think anything below this purple zone still holds low, but there's a chance that it does push down into here, fail this previous day low, previous day high, and the overnight low, rotate through this blue trend line crack, back up into that purple, which still, like I said, keeps us within this bearish, breakdown of this longer term trend line, and then could rotate lower again if you get through that overnight low one more time. Personally, I don't trade past 11. I do 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm here to try and call stuff out for you. My setup looked like it wants to kind of come in here, right? You see Delta trying to push down, price not quite playing along. You're pushing back up. If you get a good Delta pop, get back through this high, get through that trend line break if you want to wait for that confirmation, if that's what you're into. But this higher low here is interesting. Microsoft still holding above that 408.50. This could be a support area. This is interesting. I said ultimate support, though, is down at that purple box. I don't think we flushed that today. But it could, right? Nothing is promised in this world, but I do think that based on the price action of the day and from yesterday and the information that we're not getting a ton of new news. Tomorrow we'll get, let's go with the 2 stars. Tomorrow we'll get the GDP growth. So potentially you might get some grindy action until you get that GDP growth rate at 7:30, and then might give you more pop or more selling pressure. But you can see this is kind of still being a little heavy for me to be considering this a long. I want to see this thing flush the low and then Delta not play, right? If this price can push down lower and Delta stays up here, right? If price tries to push into this 650 area and Delta's either ticking up or holding, you could see that possibly could be the end of this run to the downside and a start to a push up. But we are holding now below this VWAP, this one standard deviation off of VWAP. So delta flattening, price pushing up, delta pushing down, price pushing up a little bit. It's fighting itself here. Releasing pips. Get you 15% off. All right, so Delta looking like it wants to be acting the same as price. So this is going to confirm a continuation. If it does break the low, maybe not confirm a continuation, but it keeps me out of the short, out of the long for now, because it's really acting very similar here. You are getting a wick bottom here, wick bottom there. Russell has been leading us downside, and it is still pressured to the downside. It's sitting right on top of 2,000 level. If Russell could break 2,000, then the rest of the market might follow through, because it is the small cap world. 2,000 names in that. You got that higher low. Interesting price action there. Microsoft still trying to hold up, but it's not very strong. I'm going to watch the time and sales, see what kind of size comes in here. If I do see some larger size selling or larger size buyers. There's that another attempt to push a leg down. It seems like Delta, you can see, right? Most of the time I'm looking for a higher Delta. If the price is going to break the low and Delta is going to break the low as well, then there's no divergence there. So it doesn't tell me that we're going to get that next leg up yet. So I'd be careful. I'd watch it. This could be a liquidity sweep, but I think that maybe you do get a little bit of continuation still, just based on the sellers coming in. You know, you can see Delta broke the low, price broke the low. Now Delta pushing higher, price pushing higher. It's all acting together. If it does work and break above the high, great. But for me, I didn't get that A plus divergence, right? That's just what I need to look for. The liquidity sweep of the low failed breakout does look nice. It plays out nicely. If it does break above this overnight low, watch this trend line overhead resistance. If that cracks, then you might get a good pop into that other purple zone. But right now, it's kind of keeping me out. That Delta kept me out of this at the moment. Although it is acting really nicely, but you still have this overhead resistance here. This VWAP, it's a one standard deviation from that VWAP. So everything happened as far as price action that I like. The only thing that kept me out so far to considering along through the overnight low is that Delta, because I think that Delta showing that there's confirmed sellers below the low does keep me in the bearish mindset where we are trending to the downside, and I don't want to fight the trend, especially when I'm up on the day. So, if I wasn't streaming, I wouldn't probably be off. I'd be off the computer by now. I would have just walked away. You know what I'm going to do right now? Since Delta acted the way it did, we're getting so close to my time where I'm going to be off stream. I got about 40 minutes. I need to take 5 minutes to go and run and do something, and I'll be right back. I got to take care of something out of the room. So I'm going to lock myself out of the account and secure my profit for the day. Top Step X is a beautiful platform. If you decide to get into a combine and they offer you the Top Step X platform, try it out, because I think this one functionality right here is the key to your success. It's the manual lockout button, okay? If I click this button right here, boom, confirm trading lockout. By clicking the yes below, you'll be locked out from trading anymore until the next market open, 5 p.m. Central Time, right? And I click yes, lock me out. Now the account is locked out. I can no longer execute any more trades on this account the rest of the day, even if I wanted to, right? If I wanted to hop in right now, get long, if I saw this perfect opportunity, I can't do it. Yesterday, I hit my max loss limit, personal, $500, give or take. My max loss limit on the account is $1,000, and I don't want to hit that number. I want to stay away from that number as best I can. So if I hit that $500 and I manually click that button, it helps me psychologically know that you're done, right? I had to go out of my way. I had to click that button because if I didn't, I could always be like, I want more. I want more. I want more. I could get greedy. Or if I'm down like I was yesterday, I can make it back. I can make it back. I can make it back. And I start to force. I start to feel things that aren't there. The delta here kept me out of this trade, and I think it still kind of stays a little heavy. While I walk away from the computer, I'll leave the stream up here. Just watch this 600, this purple zone below. If you start to get a delta divergence, if you're using it on the trading view, I'm not sure if it's perfect, but my delta here is still showing confirmed. It's acting in the same way. So potential continuation down to this purple zone is more likely for me than this rotation to actually play out. Watch this overhead resistance, even all the way down into here, right? That's going to be important. So just watch this. If you play trendline breaks or anything like that, just give me 5-10 minutes, and then I'll be right back onto the stream. Like I said, I'm locked out, secured, 9:31 on the day. Just give me 5. I'll be right back. back, and it looks like there's still just some choppy action going on below this low. Like I mentioned, you can see the delta's pushing deeper. Price is pushing up a little bit, but that could be like that inverse, the inverse diversion that I mentioned. So delta pushes down, price pushes up, and now he just finally broke above that standard deviation of VWAP. Watch this break. Let me see if I can find this form that I saved. Give me a second. Oops. 01339. Do I have a blank form? Okay. Texas use form. Hopefully everybody was able to understand what I'm looking at here. I mean, watch this break. If it does go, it would be important to see it go with some confirmation. I don't know if it's going to go here. That's why I locked myself out, because I didn't get the divergence that I wanted. Right now, you're starting to get a little bit better confluence with your delta moving in the same direction. You are above that one standard deviation from VWAP. So the rotation back to like 90 would be the value area low, and then up into VWAP would be, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, right? Because that's right into that purple zone too. So if you do crack this trend line, this downtrend, you are getting the confluence of the overnight low, the previous day high. Delta is acting in your favor. You just don't have a good volume push right here. We are approaching towards that last 30 minutes till lunch hour. Microsoft still pushing lower. So a break above here, maybe a false breakout to push us back to the downside. So just be careful with that, okay? That's just what I wanted to mention as far as that's concerned. I think it is a heavier market right now. Just that one. Fill it out. Everything is a little heavy. Trying to run a business and trade and stream all at the same time. It's a good time. I love it. You can learn to do multiple things at a time. Keep yourself out of the markets when you don't want to be in. Actually email her. Watch that break. That's a nice little break. Volume is starting to tick up. So see if that pop holds or if it fails. So just be careful. This is an area where I would be interested in longs above the overnight low, but I would want it to hold there. I don't want it to wick you in and out. Wick you out. Sorry. Still pushing up here, probably confirming a hold. Microsoft still just holding below its pre-market low. So I don't really quite trust this as the breakout point yet. You didn't get a good volume push. Usually if you're going to get a trend line break like that, you're going to get a nice volume pop pretty quick. This could be a failed breakout push lower. It's keeping me out of this trade. Obviously, I kept myself out by locking myself out, right? I can't trade this account, but also realistically, I did that because I'm not convinced yet that this is going to go back to the north and push higher, just based on the way it's acting. It could go, and you could limit your risk down here below, let's call it 62.50. You have that ability here. Even if you want to risk to lower the day, that's your prerogative, depending on the size you're trading, depending if you're trading micros or minis, and depending on the size of your account, right? Low of the day could possibly be set right now. That could be it. Could rotate up into that purple zone. Like I said, continuing that breakdown confirmation. It could come back up to that longer term downtrend break. So, you could take that long there. I am talking through it. I am working on it, work on the side here, but I am just leaving my charts on the screen, talking it through kind of what I would be looking for right here. Delta's acting in your favor. Everything's kind of going that way. You're above the standard deviation for VWAP, but I am cautious because of the heaviness in Microsoft. Kind of just confirming still below that pre-market low. So if you want a high probability trade, the timing might not be yet. You might want to see this thing pull back down into below this previous day high, fail to break down again, and then the next push through the overnight low, that could be where you start to drift yourself higher. S&P's is pushing higher, so maybe it doesn't do that. But like I said, for me, I like to play these levels early in the day, but also now that they come back into play, this is where I find my rotation. Most of the time, if I'm rotating from high to low or low to high, once I hit that target, you could start to look for the longs the other direction if it's going to be rotational, if it's going to be range bound. If it's going to be a continuation type day, it could break through that level and just continue down and go. So for me, once I hit off on my targets, once I hit off on my levels, I'm not looking for the next entry to go long. This may just chop around this area and be an area of interest for the rest of the day. So it's an A+ setup in a B time frame, right? Because I've already hit it. It's been a target. Now people are just getting out of the market for the day. It's slowing down, getting closer to lunch hour. There's reasons to kind of stay out of it, but also there are reasons to get into it, right? So it's kind of just up to you to make the decision whether or not it's your time frame and your A+ setup, and you see the volume kind of confirming in your way. It's just like you see it. It's just not, I want to be right fast, and this is not me being right fast. This is me chopping around, being slow, kind of deciding, are we going to continue downside? Are we going to push back up? Are we going to fail? Are we going to not? That's what I see here, and I don't like to play in that sort of environment. Hopefully that helps you decide on what you want to do. You could see the price is kind of doing what I was talking about, where it's just kind of like indecisive. It's a really important area for me. I think that this does have some influence into it. I just don't know if it's going to go up or down from here because we have been trending down all day. Is it going to be a breakout? Is it going to move slow? Is it going to just pop and then fail? Right? There's not a lot of conviction within this level at the moment. If you get another higher low, maybe into this trend line and then a break above, that might give you that pop. But if you fail this high and rotate back down through the previous day high, you may want to rotate down into that 600 for that next leg to the downside. So overall, it's not a setup for me. I need to open the other one. Sorry, looking at business stuff here. Why is my spacebar not working? That's great. It doesn't. If anybody has questions, comments, or concerns, like I said, I'm just kind of working on something out here on the coffee end. But if you have any questions, uh, shoot them out here. I did mention that this now we're getting a little bit of a volume push up. This could be the hold that you're looking for, but like I said, you have a lower high here now in the S&Ps that may push you back down. Microsoft is heavy. I don't know if I trust this to push back up. It may grind back up. It may move. It just might not be a trade, right? It's not a trade at the moment for me. 920 Gemini. I'm going to use this one for now. Seven 77058. Excuse me, everybody. Sorry about this. Be a little quiet right now. Oh, Deck. I didn't know if you were actually in here or not. That was nice to answer the Zuka-san. He's just looking for some support in the price levels here currently. Maybe I could support him emotionally as well. That could be a support I could provide. Overall, I think this grinds here. Like he said, Deck just mentioned that most of the lunchtime, you might see some choppiness. I do think that that's something that I see as well. I was typing up a little bit of a little email that I needed to send. But overall, had a good day here. We do stream 8:30 till 11 Central Time every day, Monday through Friday. The only time this week that I won't be streaming or trading is tomorrow. I am sponsoring a golf outing that I have to be at all morning, so it won't be on. But I may get on overnight or something like that, do a little breakdown. Maybe I'll throw a YouTube video out there, or I'll come on to the stream and just break down what I see for the day once I come back on later on at night. Just plan on having a nice little session here. If I need to overnight tonight, I'll throw out some levels for you. If you want me to, I could leave the stream up so you can see my screen, my charts. What do you want to see as far as that's concerned? The only problem is that the delta, I might not be able to show it to you because I do flip-flop back and forth to it. So I can run the stream tomorrow. You just won't have my ugly mug up on the screen. Realistically, I think we're doing a really good job as a team here of just kind of talking through things, breaking things down. Be careful around these levels. I think Microsoft's still heavy. I think the market's still a bit heavy through these levels. The next level I said is that is of interest is this purple zone here where you might catch a bounce. Overall, I like the overnight low, previous day high as a area to get long, but you could tell there was not a lot of force behind this move to the high side. You have the delta that's kind of acting now heavy in your direction. The only other support you have here is that standard deviation from VWAP. So watch this pullback into this trend line break. There you go. There's that push down. There's a nice push, previous breakdown low, continuation from the lows. We mentioned this breakdown here. That worked out pretty nicely from that 712 area down to overnight lows. So if that was your target, you had a nice trade there. Let's go. Good job. Let's go. How much you taking on today? Are you doing any combines? Are you doing prop firms? Are you doing personal account? How are you doing this, Astra? Good. If you're going to do it with your own money, start small, make it good, and then build a good habit and learn how to kind of leverage your risk, manage your risk. This is all about risk management. If you're going to do it with your own money, don't be risky. Don't go crazy. Set the odds in your favor. Yeah, one micro, that's a great way to learn. You can actually make decent money on one micro. I've made like a couple $100 a day on just one micro. Just be patient with it. Let the moves happen. You can actually develop a lot better habits with that micro, right? Let's call the short from the overnight high here, depending on your account size, really doesn't matter with the one micro. But if you played this initial break of this overnight high and you set stops above high a day, and your target eventually was the overnight low like we were talking about, with that one micro, you could have let that thing run and just, you could still technically be in it, right? If your target was that overnight low, if you're the type of person that wants to just set targets and forget it, then that's a good way to do it, especially with the micros, because you're really not risking a ton and your upside potential is pretty big here, right? There's that push down into that purple zone that I was talking about. I did not trust this, right? The good thing about my delta is that it kept me out of this trade here, right? We didn't execute this long. I decided to lock my account out because I didn't want to execute any more trades today. I felt like this failed break here either grinds out or we get what we got right here just now, which was that failed break, flush of the previous day low, previous day high and the overnight low, right? All of that confluence there pushes us right into the purple zone. And now you can see we're going to catch a little bit of a bounce, some resistance here. Not saying that it's going to not break its way through this purple area, but I do think that this is an area of interest for a lot of people to be mindful of, right? It was support, it was resistance yesterday. So you might get now, especially that Deck was talking about with the choppiness in the market over the lunch hour, this is where you may start to run into that chop, relax, not a ton of movement, but also at the same time could be just a liquidity grab, shoot us back up, depending on who's in the market. You just have to understand what these levels tell you and how to work them with the way you have your strategy set, right? Have your A+ setups. Have a time when you're going to only execute A+ setups. Develop the good habits of only executing 1, 2, 3 good trades a day. Even if it's with a micro, even if you don't see $1,000 days. Even if you don't see these big winning days, you're going to develop really good habits from the beginning. You're going to learn how to manage your money, and as you could see what becomes an A plus setup. Right now you don't know what an A plus setup is. Probably you probably don't have what is your best risk tolerance. What is your best strategy? What's going to work for you 80% of the time, right? My strategy for me works about 85% of the time, depending on the week, the month, right? Right now we're sitting at, it says a 66% win rate, but we're really not. We're a little higher than that. This is including a couple of weird losers that I took in between, but the strategy that I take, the A plus strategy, is about 80%. So if you can find something that sits you in that realm, then you're going to be in good shape. We kind of just talked through all these levels. Like I said, everything that we kind of talked through has played out today. Also, the cautions around certain areas, right? As I mentioned, I like to rotate overnight high to overnight low as a target. But once I get to a target area, it's not necessarily that it's a long from there. It could be, right? If we're going to stay rotational, it could have been a long, but it seemed like it was trying to get some longs involved to short it out. And obviously you could see that played out. I kind of just talked through why I thought that was the case and how to kind of keep yourself from hammering into this trade just because it looks good. It looks like it's setting up. Everything kind of lines up except for one or two little things. And those little things are actually pretty big in getting the trade to move in your direction exactly the way you want it to and when you want it to, right? So for me, like I said, I want to be right quick. I want to be wrong quick. And the way I can do that is by having all of my pieces line up around my levels and then go from there. So I know Zuka-san was asking about this support level. I did mention that this purple zone was going to be that next area where you could look for support, but don't trust it yet for a bounce, right? This could just be resistance on it. Maybe you do get a bounce from here. If you're into like limiting in and doing it that way, be cautious down through 600 because the NQ does do things a little bit more erratic than the ES, right? I don't know where the ES support level is over here, but just be cautious on it. This could have been the area where you get that bounce and then the rip. But I think you could also kind of flush 600 to get people involved short to get them long as well. So just like I said, around this time of day with these things, it's a very interesting level. But I did mention that, when you asked about it, that level is 600 to 612, 620-ish, right? We ticked right off onto the purple zone, and now we're holding below that downtrend. I like the breakdown that Deck does on all these names. That to me is why I trade futures. There are so many things that you could trade. Honestly, if you learn the basics of this, I guess we'll call it career, of this thing that we do here, this trading thing, learn the basics, understand the real dynamics of what happens when you're trading, right? All this is buyers versus sellers all day, every day, right? There's a lot of depth behind it, but if you can understand what a candlestick is, what it's telling you, price levels, all this stuff, I could go from futures over to equities, over to crypto, over to bonds, do all these things, options. Options gets a little confusing if you don't understand it, right, with the Greeks and whatnot, and time decay. But overall, learn the basics somewhere. You could go to Forex. I learned it in Forex. I transferred it over to futures. I transferred it over to equities. I transferred it back to futures. I found a home with the NASDAQ, with the S&P, and it's just kind of working for me now. And I want to start adding little bits and pieces here and there to my overall book. But right now, I'm just going with what works, sticking with one thing. It kind of helps simplify what I got going on. I don't have to look at 2,000 names a day. I just look at NASDAQ, I look at S&P, I look at the Russell, I see some of these Mag 7 names like the Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple. I watch these other names, the big names, and then I kind of let the other ones be noise. So it kind of simplifies my trading strategy. You also have to be a little bit more precise with some of these equities. You have to understand position sizing and all that. When it comes to futures, it's contracts, so you can judge everything based on size of contracts. That's just what's helpful for me with futures. There's a lot of benefits and whatnot. Also, when it comes to tax season, if you are in futures, there's a little bit more capital gains, long-term capital gains, and short-term, as opposed to the equities where you're only short-term capital gains. It depends on there's a lot of benefits, but right now futures is the thing for me. And if you are trying to learn it, at least you're learning a simplified version sort of everything. You don't have to watch everything all day, every day. You don't have to watch the entire market. You don't have to find what's in play. Just find which one you like best. Do you like NASDAQ? Do you like S&P? Do you like Russell? Do you like the Dow? Are you more interested in slower moves? Do you like oil? Do you like platinum? Find something that works for you and then learn it inside out. Find a way to be just as in-depth, in tune with this market as you possibly can. Understand what names are moving it, what names are not, right? Like today I mentioned that I'm only watching Microsoft. Why am I only watching Microsoft? Because I'm watching Microsoft and a little bit of Tesla, but Microsoft has just been the most connected to the market today, right? I said that if we get up into 412, markets might push up, and then if we fail 412, then you'll start to get the failure. And exactly that is what kind of went on. It was the most connected, the most correlated today. So we could use that information to help us over into our trades over here in the NQ, right? So that's what I like to see. I like to find really good information that helps me make good, educated decisions. And I only have to look at a couple names here and there to help myself make the money that I want to make on a daily basis. So overall, we're going to end the stream here in about 7 minutes. I have had a good day. We're green for the week, about $500 green for the week. Yesterday we were down 5. Today we're up 930. Monday we were up 100. So really sitting around about that $500 mark. You can see it right there. I withdrew about 800 last week, so we're up another 500 this week after yesterday's little loser. But the ability to lock ourselves out, hit our max loss limit, and just move on was the key to success there for me, right? I said it last time I did it. I'll say it this time I did it. Those days that you can actively say, I hit my personal loss limit, not my max loss limit. I'm not locked out. I chose to stop trading while down. A manageable amount allows you to say tomorrow, be confident in that I'll execute my setup. I'll have a better emotional state. I'll be in a better tune with the markets, and I'll be able to make back that and then some. And I said that yesterday. I said tomorrow we're locking out now at 560. We're down 560. Great. But tomorrow we're going to come out and we can make it back in one good trade. We can make it all back and then some. We took 2 good trades today, made it back, and then doubled it. So can't be mad about that at all. If you have any questions, comments, concerns before we hop off the stream, I really would appreciate just answering anybody's ideas if they want to keep continuing on for the rest of the day. If you have, if you want my opinion on kind of what may come about, what may not come about, let me know now. If not, I'll be off the stream in about 5 minutes. I'll give you about 5 more minutes of my ugly mug today, and then we'll go from there. Like I said, overall, up for the week, up for the month. We're doing pretty well. I'm very happy with what's going on with my mentality, with the stream. Everything is going pretty well as far as, getting some interactions. I appreciate when people come in and have questions. Even if they come in, they hate, they don't hate, I don't care. We're here to provide value, create a good family. Like I said, if you come in here frequently, you see my kids, you see my wife, you see the coffee company stuff. I'm a realist. I have a job. I go to work at night. I do evening shifts. I'm off on Tuesday, Wednesdays most of the time. So you'll see a reality of trading with a career, trading with family, trading with a business, trying to lump it all together and still become profitable. And I want you to be able to do that too, because I feel like most people that are in this chat or in this, watching people stream or learning to trade are in the majority of people are more in that environment than they are in the I have all the money in the world, I could trade whatever I want to do, kind of mentality. That's just those are less likely to be around a chat like this. So I appreciate people coming by and just, understanding what I'm providing as far as, a reality of trading, right? Like I said, I mentioned, unfortunately, tomorrow won't be on because of the golf outing that I'm sponsoring. I'll be out there all day from early morning through the afternoon, early afternoon, evening. So we'll be out there, pushing the brand. Hopefully we could get some sales, start to develop the brand a bit, get it out there in the people's faces. And like I said, once this company takes off a bit, I'm going to start donating 10% of my profits as we profit to paying combines for people. I'm working on partnerships with brokerages, all that stuff, looking to provide value back to the trading community, right? Because if I can make money trading, then having the other income streams is great, but I would love to give back and help people try and live their journey as well, because I know that everybody really, when it comes down to it, capital is probably the biggest barrier to entry, right? Especially in this environment. My thoughts here are potentially you have a push down in Delta, push down in price, a more deep Delta push than you did in price. So there could be that little bit of a divergence there. Watch for Delta to pop. Watch for price to pop off. This overhead resistance is still working pretty good. You are wedged down. You had that failed breakout, rotation down. Could you rotate back to previous day high again? You could. Watch Microsoft at the levels. Like I said, if Microsoft tips off on 406.18, you probably get a bounce. And if Microsoft bounces off 418, then you will probably get a little bit of a rotation up on the NQs, right? So that's really where I'm at with that thought process for you. Like I said, off here in about 1 minute. If anybody's got anything else, last minutes, running out the clock here. We are up 931.60 on the day, up 500 plus for the week. After yesterday's losing day, we usually kind of rent. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm heading out as well. I'll see everybody Friday. I'll be back on normal time, 8:30 till 11. And we'll try to end the week just as strong as today. And we'll double up, hopefully, or maybe even more. We'll see what happens. We kind of just take advantage of what we got. Attaboy, Azuka-san. Gotta love when you make some good profits. I'm glad everybody out here making some money today, hopping in and out of the chat. Like I said, I appreciate you all. Thank you for coming by. I will be back Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. When market opens, I'll be here. And if you have any questions, you could always hit me up on Instagram at policingpips. Just DM me. I'll answer you. I'm pretty quick with it. So until tomorrow, I'm out of here. It's 11. Got to take care of some business prep for tomorrow. So I'll see you all Friday morning, 8:30 Central Time. Until then, stay profitable. Be careful for the rest of the day with this chop earnings season. Be careful, okay? Watch these support levels and just mitigate your risks, all right? I'll talk to everybody Friday morning. Peace out, everybody. You too, Zuka-san. Be safe.